Welcome to the Vendador Table. Today we're going to be learning how to make a roasted Petuna Trout with smoked trout roe and a sauce Barigoule. We'll show you how to break down a whole fish and make the sauce Barigoule from start to finish. Stick around to learn how. We'll begin by creating our Barigoule sauce. So we're going to use red bell peppers, some shallots, carrots, and fennel for ours. Barigoule traditionally was kind of a method for preserving artichokes, basically in like white wine. You can make it any which way you want to, as long as it kind of has the same kind of basic ingredients and the same kind of stewing method. We'll end up peeling our carrot. I'm actually going to take the top part of it and slice it through a mandolin. I'm just going to cut out little florets here. And we'll just place them directly into ice water to curl up and just set them to the side until we're ready for them. Last but not least, our fennel. We'll pick off some fronds that we'll just set with our carrots as part of our garnish as well. In the words of Chuck Norris, knocking out 2 stones with 1 bird. Half a head will be plenty. So we're getting our pan hot. We're going to start off with a little bit of olive oil. We'll need a little bit to finish as well, just enough to coat the bottom here. And then we'll go in with our veg. We're just going to sweat these over very low heat. We do not want to get a lot of color on them. I'm going to go in with a really healthy pinch of salt here to really help release all of the liquid that is in here so they can stew. So we'll let this go low and slow probably for about 12 to 15 minutes. In the meantime, we can move on to the other parts of our dish. We're going to pick some really nice leaves of parsley, Belgian endive. What's great about a dish like this is that you can really use whatever kind of ingredients that you have in season in terms of all the decorations, right? Like sometimes if it's spring, you got a ton of new vegetation. That's really like an awesome time of the year to be doing these dishes, but use whatever is at your disposal. Moving on to our radicchio. This is really just being decisive about how you want it to look. I like some fairly large chunks here, but really organic, so they can all go into the same water bath. We also have some cello radishes, so right into our ice bath as well. We've also got some lovely escargot. I'm going to use some of the stuff from the middle here, saving the rest for another use. Just tearing off some of these beautiful frills and plunging them into the ice water. So it's been about 12 minutes. All of our vegetables are very, very soft. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add in a touch of Espelette pepper. It's absolutely delicious, but also gives it a beautiful color. I'm gonna go ahead and toast this off a little bit. Then I'm gonna go in with a few tablespoons of crushed tomatoes. I'm gonna raise the heat a little bit to get a little bit of a caramelization on these tomatoes that just came in and reduce some of the liquid that they introduced. It's really starting to dry out, but I don't want to get any actual caramelization on the vegetables, so I'm going to go in with my white wine. In the meantime, I'm going to make a little bit of a mousseline bag. So I've got my cheesecloth, and I'm going to put in my coriander seeds, about 10 of them, also some fennel seeds, and 1 star anise. This stuff's pretty pungent, so take it easy, don't go too crazy. The reason that I'm putting it in the muslin bag is because I don't want to have to fish it out when I'm done with it, and it's not one of those things where it'll cook for so long that it'll just blend right into the sauce. Pretty much at the reduction that I wanted this to be. I'm going to add in my muslin bag. Now I'm going to add in a cup of water as well, just to cover. So we'll let this go at a low simmer for about 20 minutes, and once we're at the desired texture that we want, we're just going to blend it and check the seasoning. Okay, so our sauce is almost done. I'm gonna take all of our veg out of the ice bath and just get them laid out. Place a damp seafold on top of them so they don't lose any of this moisture. And we'll keep them like this until we're ready for service. All right, so our sauce is done. We're gonna remove our muslin bag. We're done with this, so I'll set it to the side. So we'll just place all of it in our blender. Once it catches, we're just gonna stream in a little bit of olive oil, adding a pinch of salt to it. Let's give it a little taste. Delicious, super good. We're just gonna strain it directly into our pot to make sure that there are no lumps, and then just work that with our spoon. So this is our sauce a la Barigoule. This is a Petuna Trout coming from Tasmania. Absolutely beautiful fish. Let's break it down. So this guy is very much built like a salmon, so we're gonna treat it the same way. It's already been gutted for us. It is not scaled, but that's all right. The way that I prefer to break this down is by keeping the head on, just taking the whole fillet off at a time. I'm gonna go right behind the gill. I'm gonna lift this fin right here, tightening up the skin a little bit, and I'm just gonna cut straight through to the other side of the spine. Once I'm here, I'm gonna slowly turn my knife to the side as soon as I meet that bone. And now I've got a really firm grip on my knife here, and what I want to do is drive it in a straight line while I'm following the spine all the way to the other side. There's our first fillet. Turn it back around. So same thing on the other side. This side is a little bit trickier just because you don't have the support from the other end, but it should be the same thing. Look at the color on this thing. Absolutely beautiful. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dislocate the head. What I'll end up doing with the head is smoking it, picking all the meat, and then using it for a tartlet, but I'll show you that on the next time. If you really wanted to, you could take a little spoon and just scrape all of this off and use it for tartare, but I'm gonna end up roasting it, so I kind of want a little bit of the meat on there before I make my fumet, so keep this as well. So fish like this is very fatty, so you wanna be keeping it on ice. I've got some ice underneath this hotel pan, and I want to move pretty quickly here. So I'm just going to remove the ribs. So the first thing that I want to do is just get right underneath this first set, and just long strides after that while tilting my knife almost up to the ceiling, following this initial guideline, and then just continuing that same stride all the way down while removing it little by little. And then once I'm here at the bottom of the belly, I can just cut all the way through. Like I said, make sure to keep this. Now we have to remove all the pin bones. You'll be able to feel them right here. If you glide your hand across them, they're all over here, and we'll have to pick them off one by one to make sure that nobody's eating them. I personally find that when I remove the skin, it's a lot easier for the bones to come off, so I'm gonna remove the skin. I'm just gonna slice a little bit over here until I meet the skin, and then again I'm turning this onto the actual flesh side of it, and then I'm lifting it off and I'm pulling it back while I'm driving my knife forward to keep the tension so I can leave as much meat on the actual fish as possible. And you can see that there's just nothing left on here. I didn't scale this because I'm not going to end up keeping it, but if you wanted to, you could dehydrate it and then fry it later at 400 and just get these nice little chicharrones or crisps out of it, but I'm just going to discard it. And then I've got my fish tweezers in a little bit of water. I think the water really helps kind of release everything, so I'm just going through with my finger now and feeling all of it. So that's one. Now if you'll notice what I'm doing with my fingers here, once I find it, I'm grabbing it and then I'm placing two of my fingers directly above it as to not pull the flesh apart. This is when it really starts to become about your choice and what you want to do with the fish. Me personally, I really like splitting the actual loin from the belly, and I'll use the belly more for tartares and curing and sashimi and gravlax, that whole sort of thing. But I really like the loin for roasting, and so I think I'm just gonna do that for this occasion. So I'll just trim a little bit of this white albumin right here, and then I'm just gonna portion this out. We're going for around 3 ounces, so. And this is all that I'll need for today, so I'm just gonna set this aside and then vac the rest of this. So next we're gonna go into roasting our fish. I've got a little bit of olive oil on it already, and then I'm gonna hit it pretty liberally with salt on both sides. And then I've got some garlic, rosemary, and thyme for when I'm ready to baste it. I've got our pan that's been heating up a little bit. I'm gonna go in with our olive oil. And I want a fair amount of this because I'm basically gonna end up basting it in the olive oil. We just want a little bit of a differentiation in texture. So one part of it is gonna be really hardly seared, and then the other is gonna be almost raw basically. So making sure that I apply some pressure to it right away. And then we're just gonna let it go. We're gonna add in our garlic and our rosemary and thyme just to start infusing. So just gonna flip it over. It's got the sear that I want, and then from there, I'm just gonna very lightly baste it with the olive oil that's been infused with the garlic and the rosemary and the thyme. We'll carefully take it out and put it onto a pan that's been lined. Okay, so we can start plating. We've got all of our veg that we got ready earlier. I'm just gonna put a little bit of a balsamic white vinegar on top of it just to really make it pop. A little touch of salt while our fish is resting. Just give it a little mix here. We've got this absolutely beautiful trout roe from our friends at Regalis. They're just perfect, lightly smoked. So we've got our sauce Barigoule warm. We've got all of our veg ready. Our fish has rested, and you could just put this directly onto the plate if you wanted to. It'd be perfect just like that. I'm just gonna end up cutting it just so I can show the cuisson. I really like the little bit of contrast, hitting it with just a little touch of olive oil to make it glimmer, and then adding a little bit of a crunchy salt. So our sauce goes on the bottom. And we'll place our fish right in the center. First, our trout roe all around. Super excited to try this out. I absolutely love trout. When I grew up, I would go trout fishing all the time. It was not ocean trout, it was lake trout or river trout, but nonetheless trout. So let's dig into it and kind of give you guys an idea of what we're working with here. The bitter greens, the creaminess of this sauce Barigoule, the fennel, it all works so well together. I have to say that I absolutely love doing this, and if you guys find these videos to be helpful and you really enjoy watching us put these together for you, please make sure to subscribe and to hit that like button and follow us for more. Thank you.